Let's dive right into this. People are hesitant to buy and sell homes during election years, but frankly, they're hesitant to do anything when uncertainty exists. And there are some blind corners that we've been faced with in our market now. We don't know what's going to happen economically as it relates to, how much money you have invested in the stock market or what's going to happen in the housing market. But people are finally kind of coming to grips with the fact that there is an impact of the coronavirus on our local, regional, national economy. And housing is certainly a big part of that. How big? I took some stats from some congressional research to give you guys an idea of just how impactful the housing market is to our national economy. And at the individual level, roughly 65% of households are owner-occupied. And of those owner-occupied properties, it accounts for about a quarter of that household's net worth. If you look at something like employment, back at the peak of our market, housing-related jobs were at about 1 million. We had about 1 million housing-related jobs, especially in the construction side of things. Then when the market crashed, it cut almost in half. I think it got down to 560,000 people in 2011 that were employed as it related to building homes. Now we're up to like 830,000 as of last year. But obviously, when we look at housing and the broader economy, the housing market is incorporated into GDP, gross domestic product, and it's the prominent measure, of course, of economic activity. And it does that really in two ways. And the first is that GDP includes all spending on things like the construction of single-family and multifamily homes, remodeling, real estate agents' fees. It's all kind of bundled into what they call residential fixed investments. And as of 2018, that was about $785 billion. It was about 3.5% of GDP. But the other way is that it looks at the spending associated with housing services, which includes things like rent, utilities, rent that is received by homeowners. That was about $2.6 trillion. It was about 12% of GDP. So taken together, spending within the housing market itself accounts for 15% of GDP. But it has a broader and more indirect impact on the economy. I mean, housing prices can impact residential investments and therefore affect economic growth. And when you have rising home prices, it obviously encourages additional spending on things like remodeling your home, which leads to a more robust economy. And of course, a decline has the opposite effect. It leads to a more depressed economy. And so fluctuations in the housing market, particularly housing prices, can have broader effects on the economy through what we call wealth effects. So an increase in the housing value encourages homeowners to spend more than they do at other times for, of course, a variety of reasons, and like things like having higher confidence in the economy or increased equity for homeowners to borrow against. So that, think about all the people that were doing really well 10, 12 years ago, started pulling money out and they bought a boat and they went on vacation and they just took the money out of their house and they spent it. Obviously, that had an economic impact. While, of course, a decrease in prices results in just the opposite. I mean, in the U.S., consumer spending makes up about 70% of the economy. So obviously, any changes in housing wealth can result in significant changes in economic growth. And so you've got the stock market drop that obviously reflects the investors' panic over the possible effects of the global economy and causing regular folks to worry about their retirement funds. And already, mortgage interest rates have fallen to, nearly 8-year lows as investors take their money out of the stock market and they put it into cash or they put it into something like T-bonds, treasury bonds. When bonds usually are strong, it usually means that mortgage rates go down. So this is obviously, this is the short-term impact. This is the short-term boon for buyers that might be on a budget or sellers that, are trying to drum up some additional offers on their house. But a prolonged stock market plunge could obviously put the brakes on all the appreciation that we've seen, all of the factors that are driving our real estate to be more valuable and that are causing buyers to spend that money for those homes. I mean, we have agreement among buyers that they're going to pay a certain price for a home like yours. And obviously sellers want to push the envelope as much as they can. They want to get as much money as they can. And, in some instances, they're getting it. They're getting buyers to pay more than what their neighbor down the street just paid for it. It's called supply and demand. But people don't really make decisions in a vacuum. And obviously buying a house is a big one. If the stock market is kind of flashing a sign that an economic slowdown is on the way, then that's really when, Main Street feels it. And it could obviously lead to a slowdown in home sales. I mean, when you think about it, China is the world's second largest economy and the largest exporter of goods, by the way. So all the quarantines and travel bans and just disruptions to the supply chain, obviously we're going to feel that worldwide. We're going to feel that here in the U.S. And I'm just telling you now that the luxury real estate market is generally the most vulnerable when it comes to stuff like this, when it comes to stock market drops. And the reason for that is very simple. Wealthy people can afford $1 million plus homes generally, and they have more money invested in stocks. So when the market's down, it takes a bite out of their net worth. They feel it more. So, if you're feeling less wealthy, then you're less likely to make a big purchase. And for a lot of people that are buying luxury-based properties, it is a want. It is not a need. So if the stock market continues to fall, there's going to be a lot of luxury homes for sale, and there's not a lot of buyers that are going to be looking for them because they're feeling those effects. And that's kind of where it starts. So buyers right now, they're trying to juggle whether or not they should jump in when mortgage rates are really low, or if they should just kind of sit on the sideline and see what happens over the next six to 12 months. When what looks like a home that's out of reach might actually be very affordable on a monthly payment schedule. We always focus on pricing, right? But and I try to get you guys to focus on this. Focus on the payment. Focus on the cost of ownership. The cost of ownership is incredibly low. We hit 8-year lows on interest rates. But there's an additional complication. If this virus spreads to the U.S., I mean, think about what could happen here. I can already see people not wanting to put their home on the market because they don't want people walking through their house that might have been exposed to the coronavirus. I can already see, attorneys' gears turning in their minds about how do we create an addendum to a contract that says, if you or anyone you know or have come into contact with has been subjected to the coronavirus, please sign here. It's just, I see this getting bad, but obviously, don't freak out. Sellers don't freak out. Buyers don't hold your breath. We've only seen, these are some worst case scenarios. We've only seen this for about, a week or so in the stock market. It could obviously rebound, and let's all hope it does. But the reality of the situation is we don't know what's going to happen. And when we don't know what's going to happen, when we have that level of uncertainty, when we have those blind corners I was mentioning earlier, it causes stagnation. It causes people to sit back and say, well, I want to watch things as they unfold before I make a major decision like selling my house or buying a house. And, we get it kind of on a smaller scale, like I said, during election years anyways. It's something for people to say. I can't recall a conversation in the 15 years I've been selling real estate where somebody said, well, we were going to buy, but Trump got elected or Obama got elected or whoever got elected, and so now we're not going to move because it's not right for our family. Come on, give me a break. It's just something people say. It's in many ways, it's kind of a defense tactic for people that just don't want to talk about the process right now because they're not ready. And fair enough. I get it. Of course, we talk with people all day, every day. That's what we do for a living. We find people that want to sell their home. We find people that want to buy properties. We match the two together. That's our job. So, of course, you're going to have plenty of people that just aren't ready to go through that process right now. And if they've been in touch with multiple agents, they're going to say what they need to say to kind of get that agent to back off. Because not everybody enjoys having a conversation with somebody about real estate. A lot of agents are very annoying, and they will call you until they're blue in the face or until you pull your hair out and just lose it on somebody. And I've been on the tail end of that plenty of times. Doesn't bother me because I get it. Like I said, our industry can be kind of annoying at times, but that's what's happening right now. Trump's in town. I wanted to help you guys understand what's going on, what the impact to the housing market could be as it relates to the coronavirus, as it relates to the drop that we've seen in the stock market. I certainly don't like watching my money disappear as the stock market drops. Neither do any of you. Are we looking at, 2008 all over again? I don't think so, but who knows? And that's part of the problem. So what I want to talk about next.